At the beginning of the movie, Shuri is working really hard in her lab. T'Challa, her brother, is very sick, and she wants to find a way to make him better. After a lot of work, Shuri discovers something that might help. But then Ramonda, who looks sad, tells Shuri that her brother has died. In Wakanda, the entire kingdom engages in a funeral procession to honor their beloved king. Clad in white attire, each citizen pays tribute to T'Challa as a mural depicting him is displayed. Shuri and Ramonda bring out T'Challa's casket until a ship arrives to transport him. Shuri takes a final moment to mourn over her brother's casket while the kingdom performs the Wakandan salute. 1 year later, Ramonda attends a session at the United Nations. The U.S. Secretary of State admonishes Wakanda for failing to fulfill their commitments in global affairs. The French Secretary of State also accuses Wakanda of hoarding vibranium for the purpose of creating weapons of mass destruction. In response, Ramonda defends her nation, stating that they are still grieving T'Challa's loss and fully aware of the consequences if vibranium were to fall into the wrong hands. The previous night, mercenaries attempted to seize vibranium from an outreach facility in Mali but were swiftly neutralized by the Dora Milaje warriors, led by Okoye. The captured mercenaries are presented before the UN, where Okoye compels them to kneel. Before leaving, Ramonda issues a warning that any future attempts will be met with a strong response. In the Atlantic Ocean, Dr. Graham leads a CIA team using a vibranium detecting device. Underwater, 2 divers descend and find that their mining drill has been rendered inoperable, shortly before they are assaulted and fatally harmed by unidentified attackers. Suddenly, a group of blue-skinned individuals known as Talokans emerge and launch an assault on the ship, resulting in the death of its crew. Dr. Graham and her colleague attempt to escape by utilizing a helicopter, but their efforts are thwarted as Namor, the leader of the Talokans, seizes control of the aircraft and forcefully hurls it into the depths of the ocean. Returning to Wakanda, Ramonda and Okoye find Shuri engrossed in her work on innovative technology. Ramonda suggests that Shuri continue her efforts to create a synthetic heart-shaped herb and revive the Black Panther, but Shuri dismisses the idea, considering the Black Panther to be an artifact. She only attempted to recreate the herb to save T'Challa. Afterward, Ramonda guides Shuri to the water, encouraging her to set their ceremonial garments ablaze as a symbol of the conclusion of the mourning phase and the commencement of celebrating T'Challa's life. Fueled by anger toward the world for her brother's demise, Shuri vents her frustration. Suddenly, they encounter Namor, who expresses dissatisfaction with T'Challa's decision to expose Wakanda, leaving his kingdom vulnerable to attacks since the Talokans also possess vibranium. Namor demands that they find and deliver the scientist responsible for the vibranium detecting machine or face an attack on Wakanda. He also insists that they keep his existence a secret from others. Ramonda assigns Okoye the task of locating the scientist, but Shuri insists on accompanying her, despite her mother's objections. They travel to Virginia and seek out Everett Ross, who reveals that the scientist is a teenage girl named Riri Williams studying at MIT. Shuri visits Riri in her dorm room, informing her of the urgent situation while discovering that Riri's vibranium detecting machine was merely a class project acquired by the CIA. Initially skeptical, Riri is convinced to join them when Okoye unexpectedly emerges from her bathroom. Riri guides Shuri and Okoye to her workshop located in the garage, where she dedicates herself to her projects. Before long, FBI agents unexpectedly arrive at the garage, prompting the women to swiftly react and make their escape. Riri equips herself with her own iron armor suit, granting her the ability to fly, while Shuri and Okoye attempt to flee by driving away. Pursued by a drone, Riri ascends to a high altitude and successfully shoots down the drone before her oxygen supply runs out. The crashing drone collides with multiple police cars, providing Shuri and Okoye with an opportunity to continue their getaway. Regrettably, their advancement is abruptly interrupted as the Telokans trap them on a bridge and unleash a water bomb, resulting in Shuri losing consciousness. Riri also crashes at the scene, and the Telokans make an effort to capture her. However, Okoye engages in combat, managing to eliminate 3 soldiers before facing General Atuma. In a perilous encounter, Atuma nearly overpowers Okoye with her own spear until she manages to disarm him through an electric shock. As the 3 remaining Telokans emerge unharmed, Okoye attempts to resume the fight but is knocked off the bridge. Shuri regains consciousness and urges the Telokans to take her and Riri with them, resulting in their capture. The following day, Ross arrives at the crime scene on the bridge and encounters Contessa Valentina de Fontaine, who is now the director of the CIA and also Ross's ex-wife. Ross discovers Shuri's Kimoyo beads and covertly takes them with him. Okoye returns to Wakanda and faces the council, requesting Ramonda's permission to lead an underwater team in search of Shuri. However, due to her failure to protect Shuri, Ramonda strips Okoye of her rank as general and her position as Dora Milaje. Ramonda visits Shuri's lab and enlists the help of her AI, Griot, to track the location of Shuri's beads. She establishes contact with Ross, who communicates with her secretly without Val's knowledge. Ross informs Ramonda that the CIA suspects Wakanda's involvement in the attack on the mining ship, but Ramonda is unable to provide substantial information regarding Namor's participation. Ramonda travels to Haiti, where she finds Nakia working at a school since the events of the blip. Although delighted to see each other, Ramonda notes Nakia's absence from T'Challa's funeral. Despite Ramonda's reminder that death is not the final outcome for Wakandans, Nakia clarifies that she finds it difficult to conceive of it as the culmination of his life. In an effort to rescue Shuri, Ramonda enlists Nakia's help and directs her to approach a woman from a local village in the Yucatan Peninsula. This woman has had an encounter with Namor, whom she refers to as the renowned Kukulkan, also known as the feathered serpent god. In Talokan, Shuri is provided with traditional attire and brought to meet Namor. He proceeds to recount his backstory, dating back to 1571 when his mother, Maria Mercedes Coroy, belonged to a village afflicted by smallpox after the arrival of Spanish conquistadors. Seeking salvation, the people turned to the god Chak and discovered a blue substance underwater that they consumed to cure their illnesses. However, this turned their skin blue and rendered them unable to breathe air, forcing them to live underwater. Namor was born different from the others, with ankle wings and the ability to breathe both underwater and on land. Sadly, Namor's mother died, longing for her former life on the surface. When Namor buried her, he discovered the conquistadors pillaging and enslaving the villagers. Namor and the Telokans retaliated, and a priest referred to Namor as un niño sin amor, a child without love, which became his name, symbolizing his lack of affection for the surface world. Namor then takes Shuri on a further journey, revealing his prosperous and thriving kingdom, similar to Wakanda, and asks for her assistance in protecting their nations against the rest of the world. Nakia undertakes a mission to liberate Shuri and Riri. In the meantime, Ramonda holds a meeting with Namor, following her conversation with Ross, who informed her about the CIA's intention to take action against Wakanda for the mining ship attack. Ramonda advises Namor to take responsibility for the incident, but he cautions her against retaliating if the Wakandans threaten to expose Talokan. Nakia ventures underwater and incapacitates Namor's cousin, Namora, Mabel Cadena, before she can harm Shuri. Another Talokan warrior seizes Shuri, but Nakia delivers a fatal sonic blast to her. She manages to escape with Shuri and Riri, but Namor interprets the warrior's demise as an attack from Wakanda. Consequently, he leads his warriors in a counterstrike. In the city, Nakia reunites with Okoye, but they soon realize that they are under attack as the area starts flooding. The Telokans initiate a water bombing campaign, causing floods and destruction of buildings. M'Baku leads the Jabari warriors in battle, while Shuri employs her technology to fight back. Namor reaches the palace and subjects it to heavy water bombing, resulting in Ramonda and Riri sinking. Namor orders Shuri to join their assault on the surface world, threatening complete destruction if Wakanda refuses. Ramonda manages to bring Riri to the surface, but they both lose consciousness. The Dora Milaje successfully revive Riri, but Ramonda remains unresponsive. A funeral is held for Ramonda. M'Baku attempts to console Shuri and offer guidance as per T'Challa's request, but she mourns the loss of her entire family. Meanwhile, Val has Ross arrested after discovering his secret communication with Ramonda. While the rest of Wakanda prepares for Namor's return, Shuri completes her Midnight Angel suits for Okoye and another Dora Milaje warrior named Annika. At the same time, Riri works on her own iron suit. Shuri discovers that the bracelet given to her by Namor contains a substance used by the Talokans to survive underwater. She combines it with T'Challa's DNA to successfully synthesize a replica heart-shaped herb. Joined by Nakia and Okoye, Shuri consumes the herb and enters the ancestral plane, seeking guidance from Ramonda. However, she is unexpectedly confronted by Killmonger. He explains that she sees him because her desire for revenge against Namor for her mother's death and her anger over her brother's demise drive her, making her similar to him. Killmonger also asserts that T'Challa, like he did with Zemo after his father's murder, would have spared Namor due to his nobility. Upon waking up, Shuri cannot bring herself to reveal to Nakia that she encountered Killmonger and feels abandoned by her mother and brother. However, she realizes that leading the kingdom in battle now falls upon her shoulders and sets out to find her own helmet. While the tribes deliberate on their forthcoming actions, a ship soars above, and Shuri descends adorned in her fresh Black Panther attire. M'Baku proudly proclaims the survival of the Black Panther. Shuri then delivers an inspiring speech about their next steps. Shuri and Riri devise a plan to lure Namor into a dry area to weaken him and increase their chances of victory. Preparing for battle, the Wakandans board a ship and employ a different vibranium detecting device to emit a signal, luring the Talokans towards them. A confrontation erupts as the Talokans try to board the ship, while the Dora Milaje and Jabari warriors stand their ground, defending it. Riri emerges in her new Iron Heart armor, while Okoye and Annika join the fight in their Midnight Angel suits. Riri manages to hit Namor with a powerful blast when he ascends, and Shuri captures him in her ship, initiating a process to evaporate the water on his skin. Namora attacks Riri, while Okoye engages in a rematch with Atuma. Riri blasts Namora into the ocean, and Okoye knocks Atuma off the ship. Namor tries to break the ship using his spear, but Shuri fights back using her suit. Shuri attempts to pilot the ship toward the desert, but Namor ultimately destroys it, causing them to crash. Shuri and Namor persist in their battle, with Namor maintaining enough strength to overpower Shuri and impale her. Reflecting on Killmonger's words, Shuri manages to free herself and heal before resuming her fight against Namor. Utilizing the exhaust from her ship, she directs a powerful surge of heat towards Namor, significantly weakening him. Seizing his spear, she prepares to deliver a fatal blow when a vision of Ramonda appears, urging her to reveal her true self. Shuri commands Namor to yield, aiming to prevent further suffering and vengeance for both their peoples. Reluctantly, Namor agrees, and they return to Talokan, calling off their conflict and returning home. In the aftermath, Shuri arranges for Riri to return to Boston but insists that she leave her suit behind out of concern that the United States might reignite tensions with Wakanda. As a gesture of goodwill, Shuri presents Riri with her father's repaired car. In Talokan, Namor confides in Namora, explaining the necessity of aligning with Wakanda due to their lack of other protectors, which will ultimately benefit them. Meanwhile, Okoye sets out to liberate Ross from his captivity. Shuri embarks on a journey to Haiti to meet Nakia on a beach, explaining that there is something she must do. Seated by a campfire, she ceremoniously burns her royal attire, taking a moment to reminisce about T'Challa and finally allow herself to grieve his loss. In the credits scene, Nakia presents Toussaint, a young boy portrayed by Divine Love Kanadu's son, as her and T'Challa's son, making him Shuri's nephew. Nakia reveals that Ramonda had met Toussaint before her passing, and he has been living peacefully. Toussaint reveals to Shuri that his Wakandan name is T'Challa. With a contented smile, Shuri acknowledges that her brother's legacy lives on. Black Panther, Wakanda Forever, is a thrilling and emotional journey that explores themes of identity, legacy, and the resilience of a nation. It pays tribute to Chadwick Boseman, the actor who portrayed T'Challa, and celebrates the enduring legacy of the Black Panther. The film concludes with a dedication to Chadwick Boseman. In a post-credits scene, the film teases the arrival of another iconic character from the Marvel Comics universe, setting the stage for future adventures in the MCU.